Allah be upon him, is that the title they were given was the title of being called in the Arabic language the Khawarij or the Kharijites. The Khawarij or the Kharijites, meaning the renegades. Or they were renegades against the companions of Allah's Messenger. They were renegades in those times, so their roots, oh listener, their roots is not that they've appeared in 2001 or 2002 or after 9/11 or during the Taliban in Afghanistan, or they appeared in this decade that has passed over us. But the renegades have been around since the time of the companions of Allah's Messenger. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. So they are the true ones who are causing corruption. They are the ones who the jihad should be waged against. Because as for Islam, Islam came to preserve 5 things. Islam came to preserve 5 things. To preserve the religion of Islam. To preserve the lives of the people. To preserve the intellect of the people. To preserve the honors of the people. And to preserve the wealth of the people. These terrorists and these renegades have come along to cause corruption in all of these 5 matters. They cause corruption in religion, in the religion of Islam, by bringing into Islam an ideology that is alien to it. They cause corruption in the lives of the people by killing them unjustly. They cause corruption in intellect by corrupting the ideology and the thinking of the youth. They cause corruption in the honor of the people by not holding to be sacred the honor of anyone. Not your mother, not your child, not your brother, not your sister, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. And they have no regard to the wealth of the people. This is why you find that they make permissible the taking of wealth of anybody who opposes their ideology. And this sect, known as the Kharijites, or renegades, then the scholars of Al-Islam, not today, but the scholars of Al-Islam going back 1,000 years, have mentioned this renegade sect that appeared in the time of the disciples of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That their sects enumerated over 20 sects in number, as has been mentioned by Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi and Al-Shahrastani, from the earliest of those scholars of jurisprudence and history, that the renegades in Islam, those who renegaded from Islam, and they caused havoc, and they wreaked havoc amongst the Muslims and non-Muslims alike, that they number over 20 sects. They declared the companions of Allah's Messenger, namely Ali, the son-in-law of the Prophet, and Uthman, the brother-in-law of the Prophet. They declared them to be disbelievers, and they fought against them. And in fact, 2 of the rulers, the 2 of the disciples of the Prophet Muhammad, were assassinated by the very same renegades whose progeny you are seeing today. Why did they kill them? Because the root of the enmity of the renegades and the Khawarij, the root of their enmity is towards the Muslim rulers. Let's put this thing into context, the context where it belongs. The true enmity of the terrorists that did what they did in the various parts of Europe, and they did what they did in Saudi Arabia and in the Muslim lands, their true enmity is towards the Muslims and the Muslim lands and the Muslim governments. Just as their true enmity over 1,000 years ago was towards the Muslim rulers there. So the scholars of today and the scholars of previous times have clearly mentioned that these individuals know what the root of these individuals is. That their root lies in various matters. From them is that they believe, or whenever they believe that a Muslim ruler is not judging by that which Allah has revealed, they declare him to be a disbeliever. Therefore the government is a disbelieving apostate government. Therefore the apparatus of government has also become renegade and apostate. Then they proceed that anyone who does not agree in fighting against this Muslim government, who has become apostate, whoever does not agree with them in that, then they likewise become apostate. So this is why you find, okay, the bombings that took place in London, or the bombings that took place in various parts of Europe, you may say that this is something that is novel in Europe. But the Muslim governments have been having to cope with this for the last 10 to 15 years. In Riyadh, in Khobar, in parts of Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in the Middle East, in Egypt. Because the true enmity of these people is that they believe that those Muslim rulers are non-Muslim, apostates. Therefore, from when they become apostates, their blood is permissible. Rather, it becomes obligatory in their eyes to rebel and revolt against the Muslim rulers, and to kill them, and to destroy the apparatus of government, and to foment revolution in those lands. And anyone in that society, in that Islamic society, whether it be Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or Bahrain or the Emirates or Egypt or other than that. So if those people do not join them in opposing the rulership and in rebelling against the Muslim ruler, they themselves become targets. So then this ideology is now exported to the West. Why? Because many of them hold that these Western governments are supporting those regimes, so they are a target just as they are a target. So therefore the rulership here becomes a target just as they are a target. So this is the root of their evil. This is the root of their evil. Secondly, that anyone who does not agree with them, or anyone who leaves an obligation in Islam, and anyone who does not do that which Allah has commanded them to do, and anyone who commits a sin, then that person in their eyes is a disbeliever. So when they see a Muslim ruler in a casino, for example, if they see anyone gambling in a casino, if they see a Muslim drinking wine, if they see a Muslim doing anything which they hold to be ideologically opposed to Islam, they hold that person to be an apostate outside the fold of Islam. So now the net stretches out and becomes bigger. So the apostates in their eyes are great in number, up until the whole of the world itself comes under what they call Jahiliyyah. What they call Jahiliyyah, a pre-Islamic ignorance. Now when that term is used upon the whole of the world, that we are living in a world of Jahiliyyah, what they are saying is that we are living in a world of pre-Islamic ignorance. So therefore the whole of the world, and whomsoever lives in this world now, becomes a disbeliever, an apostate, whose blood becomes permissible to spill in the name of what? Of establishing the law of Allah. So they say. So therefore I become a target. You become a target. Muslims become disbelievers, and the Muslims themselves don't know that they are apostate. So a person becomes an apostate, he doesn't know he's an apostate, because he's an apostate in their eyes. So if this is what they think about the Muslims and the Muslim countries, and this is what they think about the Muslim governments and the Muslims living in the Muslim lands, that the blood of a Muslim in Riyadh is of no value to them. A blood of a Muslim in Mecca and Medina is of no value to them. So what value is the blood of a person living in London, or living in Madrid, or living in New York, or living in the West? What worth is the blood of these people if the Muslim blood means nothing to them? The blood of a Muslim woman, a Muslim child, that they are willing to make children orphans, they are willing to make women widows, they are willing to kill children, as many of them have given fatwa. They have given religious verdicts, so-called religious verdicts. Some of them seeking political asylum in London, who have been given political asylum for the last 10-15 years, saying that it is permissible to kill women and children in Algeria in the name of jihad. In the name of jihad. Why? Because we are living in a society of Jahiliyyah. No one's blood and no one's honor and no one's Islam is worth anything. So they have been living in England, protected by the political asylum laws of this land, and sending emails, setting up websites, sending faxes, covering a decade or a decade and a half, at least since the late 80s, up until this time that we are living in now. And being allowed to spread their poison on the radio stations, on the news channels, in the news media, in lectures up and down the United Kingdom.